Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we've got Cassidy and Matthew back here with us. From last time, they gave us a bit of an introduction to what AI is and the different types of models and different terminology that is part of that world, and trying to simplify that. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about our process of how we took to deciding the challenge we were going to take on. But before we get into that, let's just have a proper introduction to both Cassidy and Matthew. So guys, just give us a bit of an intro.
I'm Cassidy. I'm a third-year student doing an undergraduate degree in computer science at Keele University.
And I'm Matthew, and I just finished my master's degree in AI and data science at Keele University.
Great, thanks guys. So let's get into it. So let's talk about the process that we took to first figure out what challenge we were going to take on. So guys, let's go through a bit of how we came to that.
So initially, obviously, it's deciding on what sort of challenge to take on within sort of the AI space of what's out there, what people are interested in, and we looked around and we decided on cryptocurrency and doing things in that space, because obviously it's very big at the moment, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
So just for the people watching, most of you probably already know what cryptocurrency is, but do you want to just give a sort of brief overview of what it is?
So cryptocurrency is a decentralized form of money. It's built on blockchain technology, and it's becoming more and more popular. A lot of people are starting to buy into it, and businesses are starting to accept it, and
Great. So obviously we looked at cryptocurrency. So let's just talk through a bit about what we looked into, sort of how we researched that.
Yes, obviously looked into cryptocurrency in general, and I think we landed on sort of looking at trying to use AI to predict actually the price of different cryptocurrencies, and we looked around, but we went with the big one in the end. We went with Bitcoin because it's very popular, and it's skyrocketing at the moment. We started looking into how we can sort of what do we need to do to what data do we need, what models can we use, sort of actually get into doing some analysis and some prediction of Bitcoin prices.
So I think we looked at a couple of different APIs as well when we were sort of looking at getting what data we needed. So I think before we sort of go into sort of which API we chose, let's just explain a bit about what an API is.
Sure, yes. So an API, or a application programming interface, is basically just generally an open source tool that allows you to utilize, makes your task a lot easier. Generally allows you to use certain existing models or tools or services that without having to go from the ground up yourself, without having to actually build it yourself.
Yeah, so it kind of allows access for developers or third-party businesses or whatever to access a company's data in a more...
It gives access to the data, and as well, it's in some ways it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Someone's already built something that we can take advantage of, and I think as part of this whole process, and you'll see it in the next video as well when we talk about the build phase, is throughout this process we don't build everything from scratch. We utilize things that are available or out there already, which helps make our job a lot easier in the development process. So let's talk about the aim. So now we've come to choosing our challenge that we want to take on. But in terms of our aim, let's sort of talk about how we came to that, and sort of what we were going to do around Bitcoin, what we were going to predict.
So I think the core aim is obviously we want to be able to, as accurately as possible, or get some better insight into how we can actually go about predicting the prices of Bitcoin, but also we want to see whether we can make it more generalizable, because when we talk about price prediction, we're talking about the individual coin itself. We're talking about Bitcoin, but it could be in terms of you have to think about what currency you're going to look at it at. So we're going to look at pounds or US dollars. Then it's there's different exchanges that offer these services to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. You've got to think about that, and so we've got to think: can we build something that we can focus on, but is also generalizable if we want to look at something else?
Yeah, I think we also looked. So our aim was to not only just look at prices, but also introduce a sort of an additional aspect. So getting sort of sentiment analysis from social media posts. So getting an idea of, based on the social media posts that are out there, who is talking about it, who's investing in it, what are they thinking about the prices. So there's a couple of APIs out there that do that. But then as well, so in terms of for a model, I guess how would we have gone about doing that?
Well, you need to understand first the data we've got. So the task first is to understand what data we're trying to manipulate. If we're looking at price data, if we're going and looking at sentiment data, we need to learn and know what data we've got in order to make a sort of a good choice in the model that we'll actually go and then apply to sort of train and hopefully get some analysis out of it.
Yeah, and then so in all of that, what benefit does historical data give us in that sort of aspect?
Well, I mean, there's lots of data out there, and it's with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency. Obviously, it is very new, but you can find sources out there on the internet that you can get historical data all the way back to sort of 2016, 2017, or whenever your individual coin started, and really, it's historical data is important because it allows us to learn past trends about certain cryptocurrencies. Obviously, you can't. It's volatile. It skyrockets whenever Elon decides to tweet, but there is some overall trends that you can learn from with historical data.
Yeah, and that's where AI comes in to its own, really. I mean, you could analyze this yourself and spend weeks and months trying to do it, and you'd come to a decision of like, okay, it's trending upwards, but that's probably a month down the line. And so by using AI, we're able to do that in a matter of hours, seconds, however long.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of this sort of sphere of cryptocurrency price prediction, humans, we come at it, but we think if the price is going up, generally we think it's gonna keep going up. We have no sort of inbuilt intrinsic feel for when's it gonna go down, but we can use AI to give us a better sort of insight of it's likely at this point it's gonna crash.
A bit like the financial crisis.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the types of data that we had to deal with. So let's just explain to everyone sort of what that data was.
Mm-hmm.
So for the historical trends in the price data, we used sequential time data, which just collects the whole time series and the price for various, each day or month in the past. And then we also used the sentiment data, so kind of the power that these social media posts had behind them.
So we, there was many to choose from, but we eventually decided to go with this Crypto Compare API, which allowed us to access all of this historical data in terms of we have sort of not just the prices, the closing prices, but as well as sort of getting a great indication of the volume of sales, so how much volume there is, which can help us to sort of get better insight into what's sort of going on in the market, and I get a better idea of a prediction for the price. And then also offers some, as Kirsty said, some social metric data, so engagement, how many people are talking about it on Twitter, Reddit, all these different large platforms which we can utilise to sort of train a model.
I think we had a look at Lunar Crush as well, because that one was more social media.
Yeah, so that one was more social media, and it had things like Twitter posts and Reddit posts and comments on that, and it gauged the sentiment of those, and how many shares it had, and the profile of the user posting them, how much of an influence they have, all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Lunar Crush was really had some really good stuff in terms of social data, but you also, it came down to that we, for this particular challenge, we are doing it in Python, the Python programming language, and Crypto Compare just had a vastly better and far easier way of integrating that API just straight in, so we could access that data.
Yeah, and all of the data that we used is just freely available on the internet for anyone, so you don't have to be an expert.
And that's the thing, it's like choosing Crypto Compare because it was easy to integrate with Python fits to the way that we structured the whole project. So now we didn't do it in a traditional process, not a professional environment. We wanted to have it quite fluid. So being able to choose the different APIs quite quickly and on the fly, because they don't quite match to the timeframes we got. So you guys went through that process. So just give us a little bit of a brief explanation of what we did.
Well, we kind of realized that because we were on a smaller time frame than a lot of companies and businesses would be, that we decided to leave the Lunar Crush data out of it to kind of keep our model as specific as it was.
Just to streamline the process, just to make sure that, our aim really is to achieve this challenge, to get some sort of analysis and price prediction from Bitcoin, but it's also to show the simplest process to get there, not the big convoluted systems. Just how easy is it for anybody to just go from zero to some nice analytics with as simple steps as possible.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. So some of you may already be in the development process, and you've got waterfall way of working, or you've got an agile way of working. We didn't do any of those. We did structure it a little bit, so we had some time to do our research, and then some time to compare the APIs, and then to get sort of familiar with the APIs, and then we essentially had the build phase after that, just making sure we'd actually got it finished for eventually filming this and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So in the beginning, like Rohit just said, we kind of came up with the timeline for it, and just to make sure that it was all actually achievable.
So that was our process for like the first part of it. So researching everything, comparing the APIs, and getting ourselves familiar with it. So we haven't really spoken much about the build phase yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a second part to this, and we'll go a bit more into detail of the build phase and sort of showcase some of the challenges that we had, because we really want to highlight throughout this about how simple the process can be, but also some of the challenges you might face when doing this type of project. And then as well, at the end of that, we can showcase what we've done, sort of show the results and everything. And obviously, I have not done most of the work. It's these two who have done all of that build phase. So it's really highlighting how, no matter your experience, so Matthew has far more experience in developing with Python, but Cassidy doesn't. So we can showcase what that feels like from both sides. So I'll say thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.